Video games are a form of entertainment that millions of people enjoy every day. They can range from sports games, horror games, or even RPGs. One that catches my attention will always be platformers though. There's just something about them that other genres don't have. Now, am I wrong for thinking this is the best genre? Probably. But there are just some platformers that are just out of this world with creativity and ideas. But there's one in particular that I believe that is the best out of them all.
It's me, Mario!
Many would say that this game is miles from perfection, and my response is always, well, you got me there. Anyway, Super Mario 64 was released alongside the console it's on, the Nintendo 64. I hear many complaining about this console, specifically the controller, but I don't know. I didn't really have too many problems with it. All I can say is that the analog stick is very rough, and to even make Mario run, you have to push it quite firmly, so I guess that's a reason to dislike it. I still like this controller though. It's just so different to any other thing on the fucking planet, so yeah, fuck this controller. Also, don't worry, I'm not one of those guys who are like, God man, this game is something else. I remember I used to go up to my uncle's workshop to play the N64. While the other kids in my school played the brand new PS2, I was stuck playing Banjo-Kazooie and fucking Mario. God man, I'm so nostalgic over this game. I'd like to confirm that I'm definitely not nostalgic over this game, but more so the DS remake. Now you might wonder, what game is better, this or the DS remake? What the fuck is this? Before discussing about Mario 64, I'd like to briefly go over the development of this game. We initially saw this game at Space World in 1995 and it wasn't far from completion. Looking at this footage, it's very obvious that a lot of things were changed from this point in time to the release. But it's not as big of a difference compared to the beta of Sunshine, for example. Just look at this. Is that a fucking person? The biggest changes from Mario 64 near the end of its development include changing Mario's voice, altering the controls, and changing the look of many places. Just from looking at the beta castle, it was clear that it needed to be changed. Then, on June 23rd, 1996, it happened. In Japan only. Yeah, it's kinda weird that it nearly took a year for the N64 and Mario 64 to be brought over to Europe. Mario Kart 64 already released in Japan, and we haven't even seen Mario's blocky face yet! Now before I show footage, yes, I know that this is the Switch port, which is basically the worst version of Mario 64, and in the past video, I pretty much bitched about said version of Mario 64. But it's the best official looking version, and it's just the easiest to play compared to fucking Wedge controller, so don't come at me. So here it is everyone, Super Mario 64.
Hello!
I love this. The iconic Mario face on the title screen is something that most other games are missing, to be honest. I'm not saying that this title is a revolution, but it could show what the N64 could and couldn't do. Going into the game, we're greeted by a letter from Peach which is telling us that she has a cake ready for Mario. Once you've entered the castle. I'm gonna start from anxiety. The game properly starts here and has a simple repeating formula throughout. Enter painting, roam around level, laugh at shit textures, and grab star. That's also in this somewhere. Mario 64 has a variety of levels, such as open levels and shit levels, yeah. Bob-omb Battlefield is a great example on what to expect from this game. Great level design and great controls that accompany a fantastic moveset. And it's time to reference more people who are nostalgic for this game again. Many of them would say, God man, this game is so good and fun. I remember not even following the objective, but simply just exploring and moving around the levels, and I could just say I could back up this point since I did it myself. Yes. This game is very open to exploration, simply from all of these open levels. In the early game, you could be messing around in Whomp's Fortress without even realising it. Room for exploration can make the player feel immersed into the game, and quite frankly, very few games actually make me feel like that. If you asked me to recreate a level from this game, I could probably recreate about 95% before looking it up again. This is likely from me sinking hundreds of hours into this game, but the creativity does help as well when trying to remember. Some levels are definitely better than others, but then there are some levels that are most certainly better than others. Staying on the topic of levels, the castle is just so nice and fun, which makes it my second favourite hub world. Nothing could beat those fucking piantas. I'll definitely say that this castle feels, well, lonely. Sure, there's toads scattered in certain spots, but just from looking at the rooms, I don't know, it just looks a bit eerie and creepy to me. Even though I like the castle music, I still find it oddly unnerving. It feels like someone or something's looking over me. Now that I think of it, Mario 64 is a bit of a creepy game. Not a scary game, but it does have that uneasy feeling to it. Look at some of the enemies in this game. The Goombas look way too realistic in my eyes, and Jesus was the design of the Pokies. Luckily the Scuttlebugs are fine. I find Mario 64 to be weird with its locations. All of these levels are floating in the middle of, well, nowhere. Big Boo's Hunt isn't the creepiest level in my opinion, but instead Wet Dry World. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about, but this skybox is the definition of why. Mario 64 is sure to be the game I play when I'm divorced, but I'm still interested in Wario. Speaking of Wario, that creepypasta about him chasing Mario is just funny in my opinion. I'll also stand here telling the world that yes, every copy of Mario 64 is personalised. Each time I've played this game it's just felt different, but it's mostly the controls. One day I'm human, next time shit. Mario's moveset is still great to this day. Most moves have been retained for future 3D Mario games to use, but not the long jump into a wall jump and the breakdancing. You need to have the f***ing breakdancing. I think the sole reason this game is fun is likely from the moveset and controls. Miyamoto spent most of development time adapting the controls, which is why they're just so good. They fit the levels so well and make moving around the blast. Mario 64's open levels are a treat to move around in. Now if we're talking good, we still need to talk bullshit and oh look, it's Rainbow Ride! The final two levels of Mario 64 are often hated on because of bad design and boring tasks. I'll say that TikTok clock isn't boring, but it can be infuriating to navigate. One mistake and you fall all the way back down to the bottom, or even better, death. I think the idea of TikTok clock is nearly genius in a way, but the execution sadly just isn't as smooth. I don't hate this level, but Jesus Christ man, who on Nintendo decided to have no platforms to save you from completely falling off? Next up is Rainbow Ride, and this also has somewhat of a good idea, but Jesus Christ, this is just so boring. At least TikTok clock had you doing something for every single one of the stars. 2 stars in Rainbow Ride consists of waiting on a fucking carpet that's really fucking slow. Both of these levels are probably disliked as well because they're not as open as the other levels. These basically break the pattern of every single level having some sort of fun towards them. There's other levels that people aren't too keen on, such as Dire Dire Docks, but at least it's open. Now if you pay close attention to this game, then you're going to find a whole lot of secrets. I don't know why I love this, but if you enter the wet dry world painting near the bottom, the water will be shallow, but if you enter near the top, it's flooding the level. Or if you enter TikTok clock at exactly 12 or 6 o'clock, the whole level will be frozen in time. Sure, this is needed for the red coins, so it's not really a secret, but still really cool. I also think the way you find Snowman's land is awesome. You see a painting on the other side of the mirror, but it's a wall normally. If you hop into the wall, it actually is a level. This game holds many creative secrets throughout, but there's another thing that stays with us from start to the end. The shitty camera. Yes, the camera is very infamous for how broken it is, which makes the game really hard to play at times. I definitely wouldn't disagree with anyone saying that the camera is bad, because I've had my fair share of bad experience with the camera, and even other things such as weird bugs. Like this! Tell me what happened there. Another thing people mention is that Mario 64 doesn't look too pretty, which is understandable enough. It does look quite rough and even muddy, but considering that this was a launch title for the N64 all the way back in 1996, I think that's pretty good. I also think the model for Mario in this game is timeless. Like, look at him. Have you seen a better set of polygons? Now, everything previously mentioned has had something that makes it not perfect, and the music is no exception because f*** the endless stairs team. I first heard the song on the DS when I was like 7 and it traumatized me. I just wanted to go up the stairs with Wario. So forget what I said about Wet Dry World being creepy. This is the spooky part about the game. Cutting out the endless stairs song, the rest of the soundtrack is so good. Oh my god. Bob and Battlefield and Cool Cool Mountain have songs that greatly represent the levels, the Castle Grounds is peaceful and atmospheric, the Slider is a jam, and the Bowser teams are amazing. If you played Mario 64 and you don't like the theme of Koopa's Road, what's wrong with you? Now as you can tell, I love this soundtrack, except for You Know Who, but there are 3 songs that I think are absolutely perfect. These are the best 3 Mario songs in my opinion. They all have this calm and soft sound to them, but my favourite will always be the credits. It's very hard to describe the credits, but let's just say it's perfect. Super Mario 64 has a soundtrack that will never get old. Mario Galaxy overall has better songs, but I think if I listened to Good Egg 50 times in a row, I'd easily get sick of it, but doing the same with Bob on Battlefield, I wouldn't really mind as much. Super Mario 64 is a game where you create your own path. Even Super Mario Odyssey didn't do as well because every single level had to be played. In Mario 64, you could tell Jolly Roger bait the fuck off, but you could play Big Boo's Hunt instead. I know that 64 isn't as polished as other Mario games, excluded Sunshine, but being unpolished doesn't make a game bad, but more so weird and broken. These weird and broken parts have led Mario 64 into the speedrunning scene, and honestly, I think this is the best game to speedrun. I also showed everyone that I was able to do this in 2019.
I'll be showing you how to do a backwards long jump I'll be doing this on the 50-star doorstep. And that's how you do it.
I'm a f***ing genius. Seeing professionals do it is mind-blowing, but it doesn't take a mastermind to learn. If you put enough time into it, then you'll accomplish that goal even if the path is bumpy. The community is also so amazing. The amount of mods that have been made for this game that are high quality are just unlike any other. I recommend checking out the speedrunning and modding community of this game because both have members that are highly talented. I find it crazy that one game could inspire so many developers to perfect it, but in my eyes simply can't or haven't yet. I prefer Mario 64 over every 3D Mario game for certain reasons. Sunshine had better levels and controls, but it was very broken and more unpolished than Mario 64. I think most of the time the Sunshine developers were just like, yeah! Galaxy is a better game probably, but I do prefer the more sandbox-like games. Galaxy 2 was great but wasn't as good as Galaxy 1. 3D Land is a charming little Mario game that is quite underrated, but it's not out of this world. 3D World is a game I didn't like for years, but I've recently grown to like it a bit more. And finally, Odyssey seems to be the true successor to Mario 64, but the game has many filler moons and just isn't as magical as Mario 64. All the 3D Mario games are great in their own way, but I think Mario 64 comes on top for me. 25 years ago, this game was released in Japan, and ever since then, I don't think any other video game could top it. There's no nostalgic value I have towards Mario 64, but that could further show my love for the game. So I'll say it now. Super Mario 64 is my favourite game of all time. This analog stick though.